All right, so again, you guys both know us. We like to have open dialogue, so please interrupt as we're going through this. We have a little bit of content to create, and we believe in sharing transparently what we're going through, what we're learning as we're enjoying and growing in this RV park space too. So tonight we're going to talk about what it's like to scale operations without burning out or bleeding cash. And we're working our way out of this right now. I'll say we're in. Can you guys see my presentation? I should ask.
Not showing yet, no. But I can start right with the problem statement because I know exactly what it is.
Go ahead.
So most people think scaling means buying more parks. Let's face it, even I thought the same thing. But what actually happens is everything that's barely working breaks. So what we want to go through with you guys today is, like Erica was starting to say, we're in the thick of it. We're officially scaling, and it doesn't mean we're just growing the current part. We're growing our portfolio. So hopefully, the stuff you take away from here will kind of help you decide how you want to grow your portfolio, and in turn, how you want to grow your team. Because I promise you, you can't. We can't do it with just the two of us. So part of what we're doing is growing our team as well.
All right. So one of the things that we're learning right now is that this having two parks adds a lot of complexity really fast, and looking to add a third, even more complexity. Um, our time is now divided across locations, and while our Texas park is doing well, we're also gearing up for peak season, right? So it takes a little bit more demand. We're starting to get pulled into conversations more, and problems will happen simultaneously instead of sequentially. So, just to give an example, I've spent a ginormous amount of time on help support with Airbnb over the last week for both parks because Airbnb decided to break down and stop taking bookings on my other park, Airbnb, and then um, integrations weren't working exactly how they needed to across the new Airbnb. So it doesn't all happen at one time always, but it does happen simultaneously when you're going through it in the thick of it. And then each staff is different at the parks and you need answers at the same time. So we're heading into the park that we're at in Georgia, or we're heading into a season where all of our work campers are leaving by the end of April. So we're hiring like crazy and we need an assistant manager. We had a serious problem that evolved over, and Diane, you'll remember this from our conversation. We had a serious problem that evolved from our manager where we had to let him go. And in letting him go, we're now short an assistant manager. And then we're hiring because all of our regular employees that are work campers are leaving at the end of April, which leaves us down about 5 people at this park. So we're in the midst of interviews, in the midst of job postings, and trying to get that answered because while we're still finishing up the peak season, we're going to end up going into summer and we're going to need different people. We need people that are going to be doing some of the landscaping work and so on and so forth throughout the summer, and then some of those small summer projects where it's off season. So that's a good time to do rehabilitation. Like our cabins need some extra love, so that's the time to work on them when they're not booked out. And then at the same time, we're gearing up for our peak season at our Texas park, which kicks off in May. So we're also in the midst of hiring an assistant manager that we bring on for the season in the summer. We're in the midst of hiring about 5 to 6 work campers, and we're in the midst of hiring 4 to 5 full-time employees that work the front desk in the pool. And so we're in the thick of hiring at both parks for different reasons. And making those staffing decisions and understanding which each park needs while maintaining the budget that's been set. And Jason, maybe you can talk about guest issues and stuff because you've been doing a lot of that oversight.
Yeah, and here's one of the things you see as you're scaling is you see the same issue at both parks, but then you realize it's being handled different. And that's telling you that maybe your SOPs aren't aligned or you have a different leadership philosophy with one park manager versus another. So that's really what I've been noticing is that um, we see similar issues. The technical issues are technical issues. Like Erica says, Airbnb goes down, Airbnb goes down. Yeah, you're on the phone and you're working through it. But when you have a guest issue and they're handled different in two different locations, that tells you that you have a breakdown, which is great because that's a real lessons learned and that's where we can affect positive change. And then the opposite is true too, is if you're getting positive reviews and you're getting positive feedback from guests, you have to look and say, okay, why are guests so happy at this park? And then we're also noticing too that that overlap of the seasons really matters. So our park in Texas it's really focusing on the work camper, which is a whole different type of guest. And we're probably about 6 weeks from the close of this season where people are getting in their last minute, spring fishing, spring tours of the local area and their spring camping because it's just going to get too hot, humid, and buggy for this area. And that's going to give us an opportunity to focus on expansion.
Yeah, and apparently water moccasins are going to come out in droves. That's what we hear.
Do
Yeah,
they have opposite peak seasons?
we do.
Yeah.
We do.
Would I gave this some thought because I'm up in the Northeast.
Mhm.
Mhm.
In everything up here is May to October.
Yes.
So I gave this. I said if I have a park that's my first thought when I built my buy box is to have a park I can drive to. I don't have to jump on a plane and get to. So New England, New York, Eastern Pennsylvania. Then I said, they're closed in the winter. That'd be nice to have one in the winter. I mean,
Mhm.
in Florida for the winter, right?
Right.
And then I thought, well, if you're hiring work campers, they could work seasons and they could follow you back and forth.
They do, yes.
If they
So,
want to. Yeah, they're kind of picky about where they go, to be honest.
Right, like, well, we have a lot of work campers that come here and they're returnees from October through the end of April, and then they head back up north when it starts to, warm up and the snow goes away and the flowers come out.
yeah,
And, and then when it gets too cold, they head south. Now, ironically, northern Texas gets very hot, not humid, but very hot in the summer. So the pool, the outdoors, all of that becomes a big draw. Where here it gets, you got the mosquitoes and you have the humidity of the swamp. And although that's when all the real critter, like if you want to see the critters in action, that's really the best time to be here. But the amount of vacationers here kind of slow down a little as they head to more of the northern places or or they head west a little bit.
yeah,
And we've planned for that, and it's cool. And this is why we decided to close on this park at the beginning of peak season, knowing that we're going to have, 4 to 5 months of active revenue, and then as soon as we get that drop, man, full court press on the expansion, we're adding cabins, we're adding geodomes. We've already had the glamping tents. We're expanding the RV pads. All that happens when there's not people we're trying to make happy at the same time as we're expanding the park, so we're not tripping over each other there. And then we can switch our focus to the hospitality of Northern Texas because we'll have people coming in every day to swim, hang out at the Airbnb, come down and fish and kayak on the river. And so now we're focusing on them for their great guest experience.
Yeah. And it's unusual that our Texas park is in peak season between May and Memorial. It's only because it has that amenity. Typically, Texas tends to slow down in the summer too, just because of the heat. So we have one person, Greg, that said they would work camp at both of our parks, and they've offered that. Otherwise, like our work campers that we have here in Georgia, they go back to Indiana and Pennsylvania during the summertime. That's where they like to be. And our work campers in Texas are more nomadic and they kind of go all over. So they're dedicated for about a year before they move on. So it just depends. And you're right, there's benefit because if you're doing tourism like we're focusing on, you get cash flow all year round. So when one is in a slow season, the other's in its busy season, and they offset each other that way, which is what you want. So it's something to consider as you're scaling.
yeah,
Yeah, and Erica makes a great point. Like our monthlies at this park are going to continue, even if our transients are going to slow down. But our cabins, they're spiked for the summer because they have the AC, and so those are still booked out well through the summertime, even though the RV pads are scarce.
Now, are you using Airbnb for the cabins? Did you say did I hear you say cabins?
Yes.
Yes, and if so, the smart way whenever you're using OTAs is not put everything you have through Airbnb. So as we become known, then we start moving cabins out of Airbnb and have direct book. So we control the percentage of OTA fees we pay because we don't
Or
we don't put everything we have on Airbnb.
Or you increase your price on Airbnb by 15% over direct bookings, which is the other thing I've moved
Yep.
towards recently. But yes, we use third-party booking systems. If we didn't have that for Texas, we would have not been as profitable. Airbnb is what promoted that for us more than anything. Now in Georgia, we get more direct bookings than we do Airbnb bookings. And we will also be using booking.com because more Europeans use that, whereas booking.com for our Texas has not been used once in the year it's been up. So it just depends on what your guests like and are comfortable with for the booking systems. And then that also introduces complexity too, because it's you as the enterprise are managing multiples and um, your software determines how you have to interact. And we have to have multiple logins for Airbnb and so on and so forth that integrate differently into our systems. You can't have one Airbnb account, which is how Airbnb rewards you. You have to have multiple Airbnb accounts and start them over and integrate them into the software.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's learning all those little things that we've been figuring out as we bring on the second park and are planning for now that we bring when we look at bringing on the third.
I'm looking at one in New York. I'm really hot on the trail. If,
Nice.
if you guys are baseball fans, you may have heard of Cooperstown, New York,
I
Yes,
have.
sir.
right? So this park is the closest park to the Field of Dreams, 2 miles away.
Beautiful.
That is,
And it has 28 cabins and 92 total, including the cabins. It has an incredible NOI. Underwrote it last night. About 282 NOI for 6 months.
That's great.
Yeah,
are you gonna run with that baseball theme too?
with the
With the baseball theme, are you gonna run with that? Because
I think they could use the baseball theme more.
yeah, exactly. That was
So
my
I don't think I mean they're so these people want to retire. They got their kids working there. I think the parents probably do a little bit less and the kids do most of the work. Um, but they're making all their bread and butter during baseball season, and
Mhm.
they don't promote the park at all in May or September, October. They don't promote it at all. All the money comes in from baseball season.
Isn't that
So
amazing?
you got the fringe,
Hmm.
and I'm saying, okay, there's breweries around there, there's wineries around there. There's a trolley that goes around and takes people to the breweries or wineries. This could be promoted in May and September, October with
yep.
Oktoberfest. And this thing's making money without even doing that.
Yeah. Those are the fun parks to find. Those are the ones we like. Both our parks made money without advertising, and now we're moving into advertising.
Yeah, and no online booking.
Yep.
Um, so there's so many. I've made a list of ideas of so many ways to increase NOI.
But
Uh,
if you just add online booking and advertising, you'll probably add at least another 100 to 150K NOI easy.
yeah, really, huh?
Well, let's break it down a little bit differently. If you work with professional advertisers in the RV park space, they can get you within a quarter about a 15% lift once you start advertising. So it does just know that when you're adding advertising, people expect an immediate lift, and it's not. It's a 12 to 18 month game. So first you have to work on your findability and making sure that people can find you using keyword searches. And then you start promoting and advertising, and it layers on like a cake.
Yeah,
Yeah, so basically all the work you do now is going to help you next season. And the cool part is because SEO is so tightly linked to GEO, which is the AI version of search engine optimization. They kind of work together, and the things you do to make you more seen on Google, and then you add a few more tweaks to make you more seen on like ChatGPT and other platforms like that. That's the work you put in the beginning, And then you start advertising, and then you see the return on investment starting within, like Erica said, probably your next season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because you're already making money in the first year without advertising, you have something to ride until you get that new bump,
Right. Right.
which
If
is
I
what,
can, if I can make this thing happen and close on it, and be before early in the season,
yep.
Yeah.
right away, start promoting the fall. Right away.
You have to. Yep.
Yeah. Get in
Exactly.
there right away in like June and say, we need to start promoting September and October now, even though we're busy with baseball.
Yep.
And the beauty is you'll get all those bookings. You'll get all the money for those future bookings at close of escrow for anything past the close date. So you'll have that chunk of revenue waiting for you when you close.
Oh yeah, there was a pretty massive amount of bookings already for
Yep.
this
Yeah.
season.
We
You
had
know,
that too. Yeah.
there's 28 cabins, so there's so much that can be done with that.
Yes.
That's why I was asking you about the Airbnb because it's not just RV sites.
Yeah. It's a different kind of management. And this is what we're finding, and it kind of leads into this topic, and I'll talk to you about how that impacts with scaling too. Like we just added a total of 9 Airbnbs just by adding this property to our portfolio. And we're about to add 10 more to it. So we'll have a total of 19 at this one park, and then we'll have one at the other park. And just that in itself, when you're doing a park that has a combination like that, if you don't have a team on the ground that knows how to tackle these things and take care of it, you're the one that's setting up those processes. So while we've been here, I had to set up the cleaners, teach them how to clean to my standards. We had to go through and standardize everything on how it goes through the flips so that we get into a pattern. We have branding expectations now, so how things look, and then we have maintenance things that we're on cared for. So it really easily just be aware that it sucks in your time. And so if you're looking at scaling, one of the things that we've recognized and that we're working on is that to scale to multiple parks, we have to pull ourselves out of being the ones that know these processes and teach the teams and identify our branding and put it into um, the park and bring it to and bring the staff up to that par level. And because we've been so hands-on to this point, it's now learning how to step back and how do we make it so that anybody can come in and help us do that, and how do we start training the next generation of Jason and Erica's that go to the parks and help with the scaling effort, because it is absolutely time consuming to go through all this and make sure the staff is going. And just to give you a feeling, like if you can get one manager and they're going to stay in and be good, but if you have to turn managers too while you're turning over the park, it adds to that complexity. And both of our parks, when we took them over, we had the first manager didn't work out. The first park we found out within what 30 days, and we ended up turning it over. Thankfully, we got an amazing person. He's been there for almost a year now. He's fantastic. And we just had the same thing at this park. The manager came in, he was hitting the ground running, but then his shortcomings came up, and we found out we almost Jason and I saved it, but we almost lost $16,000 in bookings because he wasn't taking payments. Like serious things that are happening at these parks where that is such a key role, but it's not just that role now. Now we need the level up role from there of somebody who's helping these guys on the ground. Otherwise, we can't go into acquisitions or do those things because we're constantly being the one to have to answer the questions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if I were to take everything Erica just said so eloquently and put it into one sentence, I would say doing everything yourself works at one park. At scale, it becomes the bottleneck.
Yeah. No, it keeps you from scaling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that goes into doing everything yourself, caps your growth. And that's what's happening. And it's how do you empower your team on the ground? And I'll even tell you a conversation I have with our new manager. She's coming in here and she's hitting the ground running and she's doing amazing and she's very detailed oriented and you can tell that she's going to do some great things. But even purchasing decisions for things at the park, she goes, well, I'll probably never buy anything without texting you. Well, yes, I do need you to be able to buy up to a $500 a day limit on some things and to order things that you need to have from a maintenance standpoint because when everything flows through you, it will stall. And the previous owner of this park, every decision, every financial spend, every penny had to go through them for decision making to the point where the maintenance team had a battery that wasn't operational and they were jumping the work equipment without our knowledge. They had other machinery that didn't have oil filters or things on hand to be able to turn it over and get them up and running. So they didn't have redundancy. Like they only had one zero turn mower on its last legs and no redundancy with another one. Well, if you have 12 acres to mow, you can't rely on one mower. And all these backlogs keep happening. So it's about that empowerment strategy and making sure that they know what decisions that they get to make on the ground and which decisions have to be escalated. And then also now putting in that escalation point so that we have somebody that we're grooming to take that escalation off our plate from a regional perspective.
Yeah,
And
and it really comes down to metrics, right? Once we set the metrics and says, this is what we want to see your spend to be at every week, then she knows where her envelope is. And if she's going to exceed that, then that's when she reaches out. Other than that, we don't have to be bothering.
yeah. And that happens at both parks and we have conversations and you have to manage the budget differently from peak season to off season because the cash flow is a little bit less too. So like our Texas park, he's been very good about coming to us because there's a couple big spend items that are coming up before we go into big season, but he's like, okay, when do we start buying this? And you coordinate those big buy efforts around that. And so but you don't want to be the one that's in that. And that's the whole story of this is that those are the everyday decisions that you get sucked into. And without a team that's empowered on the ground and without building in that regional type manager position, you're going to continue to do this. So how Jason and I have looked at it is that we look at the managers at our park too, and we say, what is their growth potential? Do they have what it takes to move up if we want to scale at a larger volume? Are they on that docket? Who's in our circle? We went to, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Jason? We were at the Camp Expo in Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we met some camp owners in New Jersey, and you want to talk about multi-generational. Some of those camps, they're on their fourth generation of people running the same park.
Hmm.
so that Northeast area, Greg.
Yes.
They were good. And what's interesting is you go there and you go to those places and you can network with people that are running parks, managing parks, and that becomes part of your repertoire too. And that's what Jason and I are focused on this year, is our acquisitions. And then we're also going to be going to more of the events. So we have several of them that we'll be at this year to build out our network to plan for the scalability that we're going after. And our focus now coming out of the turnover of this park, we're looking to exit and have it mostly handed over to the operations team on the ground by the end of April, is that we are now documenting everything we do when we turn over a park. What does it take to get the new system on board? What does it take to put the operations SOPs into place? What else, Jason, do we do? It's a lot.
We talk about how the customer communication is, how you care for the customer each step of the way from the moment they first reach out to the moment they check out. Reputation management, that's a big one.
Mhm.
You know, we're saying how we should, how that needs to be handled and addressed. And I mean, we had a situation this week alone where we had one guest, there was absolutely nothing we could do to make her happy.
It was our fault that it was raining during her vacation.
Yeah, I mean, there's just every time we tried to address it, we tried to help her, and then no matter what, for her, it just did not work. The washing machine didn't work for her, although it worked for 12 other people. The door to the bathroom didn't work for her, although it worked for 8 other people. The Wi-Fi didn't work for her, although it worked for 12 other people. And so it just came to a point where I finally had to say, look, I've tried to do everything I can to make your stay amazing. It's clearly not. I have no problem refunding you for the remainder of your trip if you want to go ahead and leave. I've got no problem doing that because my outcome is to have a good experience for you. And no matter what I'm doing, it's not a good experience. And I'll take ownership of that and I'll refund you your money. And she left and I refunded her money. It was worth the $500 refund.
There are some people you're not going to make happy if you give it to them for free.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
totally.
she stayed for 2 days. She paid for 2 days and I refunded the rest. And boy, she was so much more happier after that. And so was I.
You, you know, sometimes I used to have a boss that used to say, sometimes you make money when you walk away.
Hmm, true.
And the next day that cabin got booked. So it's like the
Yeah,
demand is there. It
exactly.
doesn't matter.
The
And
very next day.
the very next day. And kind of while that's a good story and a good way to handle things, it also shows how much we're in the operations, which is not a good position to be in right now. And so that is part of this conversation is that it's again, how do we get our boots on the ground people able to handle that? And in this situation, we're just shorthanded. And until our staffing is up and running, you become the park manager, whether you like it or not. And
Mm,
so you can't ask your park manager to work 7 days a week with no break. So we're filling in 2 days a week and helping to run on the busy days. So something to consider too, as you're looking and Greg in those markets is what's the workforce like and can you get people and are the staff going to stay when you take over the asset?
right, right. And that's a question I asked the broker. I said, what I thought when I saw the P&L, I said, this is listed, for example, it says LLC member David, LLC member Jennifer. I assumed that was the husband and wife. It turns out it was the son and the daughter. So
Interesting.
that's that's why I said to the broker, I said, well, I said, Mom and Dad want to sell, but would the kids be interested in staying?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't
And,
know how, I mean, I'm assuming they're at least 20s or 30s. So,
and here's what's cool from a number standpoint. They're doing it right. I mean, they're taking a salary. That is the right way to do it.
yeah,
So the fact that they've structured the business, that they're paying for the people who are running the business, and they can document and show you that, that's huge. That tells you how clean their books are.
yeah, the books on this are pretty decent compared to a lot of the books I've seen that are
Yeah.
just absolute garbage. They were like, some of the books I got, I'm like, I wouldn't even hand this to an underwriter. I'd be embarrassed.
We
Diane and I
we
had that conversation. I think Diane, you're seeing a few of them that are just pencil scratches.
we've seen books in a spiral notebook.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
Jason, I forgot to tell you, that park is listed again. They're promoting it and I got it sent to me again.
Oh, that's funny.
And there was one that came to me. It was only partials, like a month here and a month there. It wasn't even a whole 12 months. But you had your printout column, and next to it you had this handwritten column. And the broker even says, well, the printed column is what they actually did. The handwritten column is what they told the IRS. I mean, they're just right up front about, you know,
But it's a good thing for you to find out about that staffing
yeah,
because if you have to fill all that until that gets filled, as soon as you close, you're it.
right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, so I'm assuming with this park that if if this happens, um like I can inherit almost everybody, but I'm not that at that stage yet, so but I will definitely find out if I can inherit everybody except for the owners.
Yeah.
So and even then I might even ask them if not in a paid role, but in an advisory
We-
role, are you available?
We've had colleagues who have bought parks where the owner loves the idea of running the park, just doesn't want to own it. So they sold it and then took on the role as manager because they love interacting with people. They just didn't want to run the business.
Yeah,
So it was win-win for both.
right, right, right.
All right. So I think we've talked about that one enough. And then ownership and operator. And this is the shift that we're in right now. We've been very heavily focused on the operator mindset and how do we really handle the issues that are coming up daily at these parks. And it's almost a game of whack-a-mole at this point. It's kind of comical. And
Well, because
we
if you don't laugh, you're going to be under your desk in the fetal position. So you have to laugh.
and we're very much inside the day to day, but it's that transition to strategy and long-term vision and setting up that um, operations that will function without us, without that constant intervention is where we have to head before we get into the third park. And really, when we look at it, and I'll just be transparent. So our first park, we have partners on. I don't look at that one as too much of a heavy lift on ours. We're sharing the responsibility, so we tend to balance it out a little bit. Whereas with the second park, we're very much, Jason and I are the majority owners and we're taking on the majority of the work on it. And the third park will be the same way. And so by the time we get to the next park or the park after, so it's going to be our third or our fourth park, we absolutely cannot do what we're doing anymore. 100%. Be this ingrained in it because we will not scale. It will fail all the parks.
Yeah, there's a barometer I created, and I said, before we think about buying an next park, we have to ask ourselves this question: if we stepped away for a week, would our previous park still run clean? Now we can say that for our first park because we've got partners and everything's running. Everybody knows their lanes and they're doing what needs to be done, and the park manager's running beautifully. But if we to bring on a third park and could we walk away from this park for a week and would it run clean? Not quite yet. So that's the holes we got to shore, and that's why we're working on bringing on that assistant park manager and then making sure the park manager is set up with good work campers for the new season.
You guys haven't had that long, have you? It's only been a few months, right?
3 months?
December.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that long.
December, January, February,
No,
March, April. Yeah, but
it's a full quarter.
a full
Yeah.
quarter.
I mean, I get the mindset, but
Yeah. And we had planned on exiting by now too, Greg. So if you think about it, and I've shared this with Diane when we had our conversations, Jason and I and Jay, we want to bring on at least 4 or 5 parks this year. You have to be able to exit faster or have a team in place to do that. So if we're not exiting till 5 months in, you can't bring on that many parks.
right. Okay.
So for us to do that mindset shift, we have to be able to get out quicker. And we
Right.
thought we'd be exiting a month ago, but then we had this issue with the manager not performing, and we started getting a lot of yellow flags that he was going to have to be let go. So we needed to extend our stay here. I mean, it's to the point where we never planned on being here this long. I'm running out of contacts. I have to fly back to Texas just to go get my contacts because I'm running out of my disposables. But those are the unplanned things or unforeseen things. And so when we looked at it, we said, okay, we want to be under contract on our next one by April. Well, that's next month.
But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will tell you what's helping us though is we made sure we hired a really good, I mean, really good top-notch assistant manager. And
Mhm.
so when we tapped her on her shoulder and said, "Would you have a problem taking on the whole thing?" She didn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
So she stepped right into it. We made sure she was set up for success. We made sure the team knew who she was, what her role was, and what she was doing. And then we immediately rolled up our sleeves and got to work on hiring a new assistant manager. Now, I have stepped in and I've assumed the role of assistant manager in the short term because Erica needs to focus on overall operations. So having her pulled into that role wouldn't be advantageous to us. Plus, she's still underwriting our next park. So keeping her free for that um, is why I stepped into that role. But like I said, we're actively looking every day for a new assistant manager.
Mm.
Yeah. How many parks are you looking to add this year, Greg? You're just doing the one or two?
1 to 2.
1 to 2. Yeah, that's a good first year.
Yep.
I think Diane, you guys are looking at adding 4, 1 a quarter.
Well, yeah, but probably, I mean, I'd kind of like to have 2 this year and maybe 1 under contract to close by next year, just because it's already first quarter. We've looked at a lot of parks, but none of them are, mm, there's probably one, well, there's one I'm looking at right now that's good, that might be good, but I need someone to like look at it with me because it's got like some additional things. Like it's got a house, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on it. It's got additional acreage to expand on. So I think this one might be a good one, but yeah, I think and just listening to y'all, and I think, it just takes time to find the right people, find the right park, then find the right partners, then get it up and going, right?
Like 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 Erica said though, because we've done our second park now we've started outlining what we need to do next. And now when we go after the third park, we'll have a different team, we'll have a different mindset, and
Yeah,
there'll be less hands-on between her and I, and we'll be more reviewers rather than doers.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah,
because we learned from adding the second park.
But it's
yeah,
you even learn who your partners are. Like our partners on the parks are different because we found misalignment in how operations were run. And so we're going to continue to partner with the same person we partner with on this park. It's going to be that's how we keep it going forward. But we're starting to put feelers out there, like we talked about, where we might need to bring on acquisitions people. Might need to bring on
yeah,
financial people and stuff like that because it takes an army to keep the machine going.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know who talks about this a lot, this exact subject is Michelle Bison,
Yeah,
Oh, funny.
she's
right?
got she's got a
Got an
lot of
army.
experience. They brought in a lot of parks in a short amount of time. So yeah, she's her and Patrick are know this very well.
Yeah.
Right. And how they're bringing in they're building their team, their ops team, the marina team, the food service
Mhm.
team, the this team, that team, as they're growing, and I'm sure they were probably at this stage in the beginning, but they're beyond it now.
Yeah, it was I remember because her and I were talking after she got her second park that's kind of but by the time they took on their third park, they started having a financial CFO acquisitions team. They brought in the operator, Rinda came in, so it's about that time where you have to really start looking at it from a scalability, but it's also Jason will talk about this that knowing that you're going to go down this path in the future also has to have you considering what you're doing to set up your structure on your first park. And I'll give you an example of that is the way we picked our systems and what we use for our booking software and how we integrate into things. We chose it with the mindset that it's going to be enterprise and scaling and they could grow with us so that we're not having to change out and do things. That's why we don't go with CampSpot. That's why we don't use Rover Pass because they didn't scale in a way that made sense to us over the long run.
Interesting, she just said stay list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I've heard good things about them. I've never used them, so I can't comment the pros or cons,
Yeah,
but I know people use them very successfully.
yeah.
yeah, we looked into them at the time, the park that we had that we were looking at it, they just told us we're too small and they didn't have any interest. So I never went further with them. And then I got a referral to New Book and I really like New Book. And the guy that referred me to New Book is now at, as of last year, 31 or 32 parks that he's running on an enterprise on New Book.
Hmm.
And it works very well for us. Right now, we're in the enterprise view of it because we have the two in the same booking software. And it's amazing how many lessons learned you can take from going back and forth between them and applying them. So little things that you can just update and streamline.
Yeah, and Erica's integrated with her team so well. They're going to have her speaking at camp owners events. She's helping them with different things of how they can grow their platform to do more stuff for camp owners. Like they're starting to reintroduce AI back into it. They had tried that a while ago and dumped
I'm
it.
excited about AI. If you guys haven't gone into AI, it's going to be cool for campgrounds.
And then we had a couple-hour conversation with them, and they're starting to ramp that back up again and look at all the possibilities. So as you guys are looking to build your teams and build your staff, think about adding AI as part of your staff because it's really going to help us campground owners accelerate in a shorter amount of time.
And that's our next endeavor too. So as we get into April, we're going to also focus on more AI integrations and how we can leverage AI to be humans in our business and take off some of this stuff too. It's really cool.
Yeah, they're very, very inexpensive staff They are staff. AI will cost you money, but a fraction of what you think.
And think about it from a park operations set mindset. So this goes back into the operator mindset, like automations on generating emails, an AI bot that answers the phone after hours, a chat bot that answers questions as guests are trying to book when they're having troubles with the booking software. Like those are real things that take tasks off the manager so that they can be more strategic too and pull out of that day to day as well. It's cool stuff.
Hmm.
So just as a reminder, you know, more parks, more what do they say, more money, more problems. Is that the song?
Yeah.
So as you continue to bring on, you just have more staff, more maintenance, more guest management. Mistakes can get buried. You're it's easy to walk away when a park is being operated smoothly and l- let it ride because you're dealing with issues at another park. And so those that can lead to errors that just get uncovered and small problems will kind of scatter throughout like this silly Airbnb issue where they canceled 7 bookings on me. Like that's real revenue. That's about $5,000 in revenue for that little space that we had that we lost out on. And so it's staying ahead of that or learning that your manager is not charging guests. And you have people running in and saying, "Can I actually pay you for my stay here?" And you find out they're never in the booking software.
Or you have people you found that stayed for a month and a half for free.
Right? Like you have to be able to find someone that is doing the auditing of all these things while you're focusing on the strategy for the larger scale.
Yeah, I think our biggest takeaway, Eric and I took from scaling is learn how to fire yourself. So if we have to be in the decision path, we've already made the mistake.
Yeah.
Somebody told me a story of a park manager that was telling guests to Venmo the money to himself.
Oh man.
Wouldn't
And then
surprise me. I've heard all kinds of stuff.
and then the owner showed up and says, "You know what? Let me just take the bookings and get in a golf cart and drive around." And he found out there was campers there that weren't in in the bookings, and
Erica did something similar where she went through all the booking software and said, okay, we should have about 16K, and then went to the bank and noticed we were 16K light.
I said we should have about 45K in revenue, and I said we're about 16K light, and I went through all the booking software and find out he never billed anybody. And what it was too, and this is just a human thing, is this person went through the training but still didn't understand the software, and instead of asking questions, the pride got in the way. And so was doing a figure out yourself thing. And there was all these little things that where the policies were breaking down. And this is where Jason and I have been more of a heavy hand in setting this, but it comes from the top down, right? And one of the policies is you never, ever, ever move a guest trailer with your own personal truck. And we were having to deal with that. Like he was promising guests that he could move their trailers around the park. And we're like, no, insurance liabilities.
mm,
They have in the past had inconsistent pricing procedures and for group events, and they host a lot of group events. Well, some groups were now getting 30% discounts. What? You start putting a class A Tifton on your pedestal and you're spending 35 days in electricity and you're making $39 from that reservation, you're now making $4 a night.
Yeah. So
mm,
those things burn about $35 a day in electricity. And then when you include electricity in your transit, you're not making any money with those kind of deep discounts. And here's the other issue that really floored us is people were calling and say, hey, you never charged my credit card. I got my credit card statement back. You never charged it. He goes, it's just a computer error. You're fine. Didn't raise it to us, nothing.
But those are like the little financial leaks. So what's cool is if you create the operating procedures, you just copy paste and you just modify it for that. And the one thing that I did to make it easier now is we have it's a lot of operating procedures because the restaurant and everything, but I took the first park operating procedures, applied it to the second part, grew the operating procedures. Now we have a library that will go away, and then that can be applied to the next park. You know, you pick and choose what goes. And then I created a GPT bot for the staff here so they can search for all their questions in the SOPs that are now on AI. So it's how do you make that efficient? And it's making the policies consistent, right? So you learn what works at one, you apply it to the second, you layer it onto the third, and you just continue to round that out. And it becomes easier and easier. But it's also about how you systemize it, streamline it, get it organized so that you can just pick it up and paste. So now I can take everything out of that GPT, run it through again. I use cloud, organize it, send it back out, and then it's ready for the next park.
And the cool thing about having all those systems, at any given time, we can log in the new book and see how many rebookings we got and how much revenue we should be receiving.
Mhm.
Same thing with Square. We can log into Square and say what came into the camp store, what came into the restaurant, what came into the bar, and then what left. And if we see any kind of delta, we can immediately jump on it.
Yeah. Or teach somebody else too, Jason.
Yeah. But we had to see the problem first and go, we got a problem. Let's define that one. Let's come up with a solution and let's train somebody. Absolutely. That's really the answer. The really answer isn't the answer, did you fix it? The answer is, did you train somebody else to keep an eye on it so we don't have to?
Yeah.
They got to know you know.
Exactly.
Exactly.
They just have to know somebody's watching.
Yeah.
If mom and dad aren't watching, then it doesn't happen.
But see,
That's right.
we even set the example too. If we go in to the restaurant and get something to eat, we pay what the menu says. We don't take free food out of our own restaurant. We don't take free drinks out of our camp store. If we want, a burger for lunch, we pay for a burger for lunch. So when you know the owners are paying to use your facility, then everybody knows. Now, we do offer for our staff because they work really hard. We offer them one free meal a week, and then we do offer them a employee discount on any of the branded merch because
Mhm.
we want them to show off our stuff. But at the end of the day, they know we're not taken from the business, therefore nobody should be taken from the business. And more is caught than taught with stuff like that. So that's been the key for us too, is to show we order stuff, we pay full price.
Yeah, and it's setting that culture, and it's really interesting. I had a meeting this week with another business owner, and restaurants add a different layer of complexity into things. And so what will happen is people will intentionally make too much food because food safety, you can only keep the food for 7 days or you have to throw it away. So they intentionally make too much so that they have to take it and consume it or take it off site or take it home, and then it raises a lot of waste. So it's part of our learning too was how do you create these documentations so that everybody has the same understanding and then put measurements in place. So we measure our staff on the cost of goods sold for the restaurant. Because if it gets above a certain percentage, then we know that they're abusing the system and they're likely not taking care of the food waste situation. We're also adding in waste reporting so that as you're throwing stuff away, you have to tell and submit to somebody that you're actually throwing product in the garbage. Because we threw away, it's now up to 4 total bins of trash of expired food that was, and some of it was mismanaged from the staff that was just exited from the property, and some of it was from the prior staff where they had food that had expired last year still on our shelves.
Hmm.
I know. And if you get audited, that's going to shut you down. So now the strategy is we set cadences. This is how you order. This is what you order. This is how you divide up the product once you order it. This is how you care for it when it's going in the freezer so that you're using it in the optimal way. Because you can't take I don't know, you probably cook like 10 pounds of chicken at a time, and you can't take 10 pounds of chicken, break it down, put it in gallon Ziplocs, and then you use a quarter of it over a weekend, and then you're throwing away 3/4 of it. It's little things like that that you have to systemize and make sure that everybody understands. But I'm really grateful for learning all this stuff now because learning it on the smaller parks at the very beginning just sets up that stage as we get into the future because now we can set the precedents and we know what we're walking into when we get these types of things. And I made a promise to somebody that I'm not buying a restaurant on the next park. Although if I see this one that's glamorous, like I'm sure somebody's going to bring me, I'll be like, well, maybe.
Well, I tell you, if you like people and you like acting with people, having people come to your restaurant, having them order stuff from your bar, it's just fun. Everybody's happy and open and talkative, and it's just fun.
Mhm.
But there is a downside if you don't manage it properly. But it's like any business. If you don't lead people properly and if you don't manage the systems properly, you will get bitten.
And
So
that's
that's what.
why we're extending our stay because if we don't get it clean and managed the way that it needs to be when we exit, we're just taking those problems on the road. And so hopefully, I mean, the biggest thing is once you guys get into your first one, take the time, make it efficient, make it the way you need it to be so that you can pick it up and repeat it.
But if you had a building in your property that you had a restaurant, I mean, one avenue you could lease it to an operator, and then take a percentage of the gross
Yep.
or a percentage of the net.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we actually do that for big group events. When there's big group events, we say, okay, well, you guys can come into the restaurant and order off the menu. But if you want something special, we just bring in a catering company and then they give us a percentage and then you work directly with the catering company and we're not involved. And we'll still serve you beer and wine all day long, but those guys will handle the food for the big groups unless you want to order direct off our menu and then we're good.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's kind of how we've been handling it.
just a
Yeah,
different angle,
it is.
Yeah.
just a little bit of a hands-off angle.
Yeah.
But
And we're trying it right now. The restaurant, we've said from the beginning that if we can't make it profitable, it has to go because the main focus needs to be on the reservations and the people that are attending. It's just such a huge amenity to this place. It is literally where all the campers come and gather. Like we had this weekend was we're working on awareness and making sure people are aware that we're here because the prior owner had irregular hours and people would call and say, "Are you open?" And she'd either say yes or no. And now we have set hours, we have a set menu, we have consistency in that space. And it's just making sure people are aware. So we ended up when we bought it, we were maybe making 150, 200 a night, which isn't worth being open. And now we just closed out a $2,000 weekend and it was our biggest weekend. So it's small growth, but if we can maintain that, it's going to be just fine for us to continue to management in that small window of time. We don't
and,
have intentions to grow it outside of those time windows because it takes away from the other things that are going on.
and the reason why we took that approach is people don't come stay at the park for the restaurant. But while they're here, having the restaurant is cool. The restaurant isn't the draw, but having the restaurant is an upside. So we go, okay, well, since most of our guests are transients and they're here Tuesday through Sunday anyways, forgive me, Thursday through
Thursday,
Sunday anyways,
yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday is key. Most places around this area aren't open on Sundays anyway, so we're not really losing any business being closed on Sunday. And then it gives everybody time to reset. It gives our team a chance to do inventory and make sure we're ready for the new week. And it works out great.
And we are the only location in all of town that has on-premise tap beers. So we get
Yeah.
the locals in for that. Beer is our biggest seller.
Nice.
Yeah.
Profitable too.
Yes.
Very.
I mean, just this weekend, we sold through half a small keg of Michelob and we just put it on tap this weekend. So it's like,
Yeah, when you get your state license and you can start working direct with the distributor, your profit margins go up considerably.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Smart.
yeah, it's just looking at those things individually and seeing how they integrate. You're not wrong, Greg. Like leasing out is another option. I've seen that on other parks. And then this one, we just decided that the profit margins can be there. So we're going to hold it for a while and see what we can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the big picture. I just,
Yeah.
you know, from a far, far away observation.
Yeah. It's absolutely a great approach. You can do that with almost anything too.
Right.
Because,
I,
because I
if
think
my
at the end of,
numbers are right from way back in the day, I grew up in the restaurant business. My dad used to say food cost was 35% and liquor was 18%. How is
yeah,
that still true today?
Um, so what we are seeing the last couple weeks, we've done below 25% COGS, liquor and food
Combined?
combined.
Okay.
So, which is really good. But like a typical restaurant, if you're running and you include the staff count, now our staff at our restaurant are work campers. And it's the managers and the assistant managers, the only paid people that we have during that time. A typical restaurant will run 90 to 95 expense ratio. And that's 90 is a profitable restaurant.
but the beauty, like you're saying, is if we stopped the food and just did the beer and wine, we'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, people come here for the beer. I mean, our previous manager may have had an issue, but he was drinking $100 of the beer a week.
That did my father in at 51,
Yeah.
owning nightclubs and being an alcoholic.
Yeah. I mean, our maintenance guy, he finishes he's part-time. He only works 15 hours a week. And every time at the end of his shift, he comes in and has a cold one.
Then it goes home.
Then he goes home. Yeah.
Just as long as he waits till he's done working.
Yes.
He does. He clocks out and comes in, has his bottle of Busch Light and tells us good day and goes home. And he's great. This guy literally fixes everything.
Nice.
Thanks,
Nice.
you guys.
Yes, you're welcome.
Appreciate it. Speaking of
Yeah,
AI, I'm going to go get on an AI call, an AI
Awesome.
agent call.
Nice. Would love to
um,
hear your lessons learned. Enjoy.
All right. Look,
but
y'all take care. Thank you so much.
You're
yeah,
welcome.
before
Good to
before you
see
guys go
you.
real quick, I just want to let you know. So, and I think I've talked about this in the past, but I put together Eric and I put together all our lessons learned from buying one park to multiple parks, and we put together a little uh, ebook basically.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna put a copy of it in the sorry, the URL in the chat there. If you guys are interested, great. If not, you know,
Oh, cool. Okay. No, that's
but
awesome.
it's great if you're either operating a park or if you're looking to acquire your first park. These are just the things that we were looking at and the lessons learned we took away from that. So let me grab that link real quick.
All right. Thanks as always for joining us, Diane and Greg.
Oh, yeah.
Great to
Appreciate
Oh,
share.
it.
yeah.
Always good to
Greg,
learn.
Yes.
Greg, you'll
From,
have to
peop
keep us
from,
posted.
from people that are doing it.
Mhm. Yeah.
From people on the verge of doing it, from people who are doing it.
Hey,
Yeah,
you're almost there.
but it's okay. I know I know it's like frowned upon to try to give advice when you haven't owned your first park. But I mean, Eric and I for a year and a half learned so many things by getting parks under contract, doing due diligence, walking away from parks. Yeah, yes, we didn't have all the experience, but we learned quite a bit so that when we did get our first park, we didn't feel like we were going in blind or we were going in not knowing what we're doing, and then having that first part going into our second adds a little bit more. You just build on it. It's like a foundation, right? As you build a house, first you start with the foundation, and then you start building up the walls and everything. So, if you don't have your first park yet, that's great. I guarantee you guys have learned a ton. And when you get your first park, you go, okay, I get it. And then you'll pay that forward to someone else like we're doing. That's all we're trying to do is just pay it forward.
Yeah.
And
This is
then
awesome.
yeah, and then after your first park, your second, and then it'll become a little easier. And then like us, we're hoping, not hoping, we're actively planning that a third park will be much easier. Not that it'd be easier, like an easier business, but easier on us because now we've been able to delegate and the systems are now unlocked. And it's about turning the crank and making it repeatable. Similar to what the Bassans have done. They're a great example of what to do once you've
Yeah.
got all that done and how
Yep.
you use that. And I mean, they're allowed to close they close on parks much quicker because they know what they're doing now. They know what to look for. They have a strong team, and that's what we're trying to go towards is to have that level of competency. So keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing awesome. If people have questions, keep paying it forward. That's all we want to do, and I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Sounds good. We appreciate you.
Thank you. See
Yes.
All right.
you
Talk to
later.
Very
you
much
soon.
so.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.